But, yeah. All right. We spent way too much more time on that than I wanted to. Keys to victory. So, look, for me, okay, it's pretty simple. You go into a game against Florida, rivalry week. A lot of you are down. Speaking of, you would think the way that people are talking about this LSU football team that maybe I'm not going to say that, but we are all depressed when LSU does not have massive amounts of success in football. You are, I am, everybody is. But every Thursday we get 5 keys to victory. 9 times out of 10, actually 9.9 times out of 10, what I talk about is an X's and O things. These are things that I think that you got to implement if you're LSU to win the football game. 4 of them tonight are. 1 of them is not. Let's start off with that. This has nothing to do with X's and O's. It has nothing to do with Brian Kelly. It has nothing to do with Matt House. It has nothing to do with Robert Steeples. It has nothing to do with Kerry Cooks. It has nothing to do with Pete Jenkins, Bob Diaco, John Jancic, any defensive analyst that's on that team. What I am about to say has nothing to do with them. You throw the coaches out. This is about pride. At some point, you got to stand up. Front 7, you got to stand up. Last week, you were embarrassed. Outright embarrassed. If nobody has told you that, you were embarrassed. When are you going to make a stand? When are you going to say enough is enough? Because it's not just last week that this has happened. Arkansas, you got pushed around. Missouri scored 30-plus on you. Ole Miss, we just got done talking about Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. They scored 55 on you. If you could get one stop, other than the one that you got at the very end on the 4th down, if you could get one stop, multiple stops, guys, you're honestly looking a national championship in the face. It's the truth. I am not saying that what I want to be cautious with, I'm not saying Matt House blew you a national title run or national title, but maybe a national title run that could be argued. But to guys in that front 7, all of them, I'm not going to even name them off. You know who they are. You know what I see when I watch film? When are you going to do a swim move in a pass rushing scenario? When are you going to hit somebody with a quick little spin move? When are you going to hit somebody with a little dip and rip and get to the outside? When are you just going to line up and tell somebody, bitch, you're not better than me, and run them flat over? Because a lot of you have ability. A lot of you have ability. To the defensive back dudes, you know what? 6 weeks ago, LSU was 121st in the country in passing yards allowed. Right now, you're in the 80s. Every single week, you've gotten better. And I will give you credit there. Right? Like it's fire Robert Steeples, fire Matt House, fire Kerry Cooks, fire this guy. If that is your opinion, then so be it. I've seen the DB room get better. I saw it last week when they got better. They had a couple of blown coverages. One was a busted coverage that a running back comes out of the backfield that's not even on the secondary. 40 yards later, he's in the red zone. Harold Perkins, who's in that front 7, has a blown coverage on a wheel route. That one goes for 37, 38. So you're talking about 70 yards taken away from Jalen Milroe that's not on this DB unit. I've seen you not only on the film, on the field, and statistically get better. Javian Toviano, welcome to the party, young man. This is about pride. Because let me tell you something. Florida is going to come in here at 6:30 on Saturday night while you are celebrating arguably one of, if not, they're not better than 11, but one of the best defensive teams in LSU's history that led you to a title run. They will be in the building in that celebration. It's time to step up and show some pride because here's the truth. When I watch you play on film on the All-22 copy, I seriously have notes on notes on notes every single week when we're charting this down, and I start asking myself the question, do you care? Now, I do think that you care. I do think some of you are battling. Some of you don't play with the effort that you know that you need to get to. You know it deep down. Your coaches know it deep down. Your mama in the stands, your daddy in the stands, your grandmammy in the stands, your grandpappy with no teeth in the stands. Everybody knows that you are not playing up to your ability. Well, Blake, what about Matt House and the play calling? I agree with you. That has nothing to do with having a blown coverage. That has nothing to do with getting spinned around like a top on an out route. Guys, out routes, you're playing bump and run man-to-man coverage. Why are you opening your hips that early to the field when he's 8 yards and he's going out? After 12, 14 yards is when you should open your hips. When he's lining up with you. He's not even close there. You don't know if he's going to run a hitch, an out, an in, a slant. You don't know. That's basic, fundamental stuff. And I never played the position. Newsflash, I've never played corner in my life. But have been around coaches, have been on teams, have been in meetings, coaching clinics. Time that I spent on myself, knowing if I wanted to do this show, if I want to do I got to learn more. That's basic, fundamental stuff. Pride. You know, and I know, and everybody knows that you have dudes on this team and this defense that have the ability. Now, here's where I will go to the coaches. You got to show just as much pride. If the excuse that I've heard or felt like I've heard over the last couple of weeks is that, well, they don't know my defense. Well, two things about that. Number one, if they don't know your defense after 2 years, maybe you're not teaching it right. Or you're not able to get to that player, okay, and teach them in the right way to where they know what they need to line up and do. That's on you. Them not knowing the defense falls on nobody but yourself. Nobody. They are 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. You got to get through to them. If your defense is not working, you have to look in the mirror and make changes for yourself. You have to simplify. It's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. If your team can't run dual coverage, if your team doesn't know where to line up, that is on you. You can't be getting lost in man-to-man coverage. I will tell you why. If you do that here this weekend, listen, you can think think anything you want about Billy Napier. You gonna make Billy Napier look like the second coming of Kyle Shanahan, like the second coming of the West Coast offense. Because if you are not disciplined, they gonna kick your ass. Number two, I have no idea why I'm saying number two. None. Because I know it's not going to happen. But it doesn't change the fact that this has to happen. Last week, Brian Kelly said that we thought that our front four would be disciplined enough to get after Graham Mertz. Clearly, that wasn't true. Clearly, it wasn't true, and you didn't change anything. Last week, this time last week, literally a week ago, I said you have to, if you can't get home with 4, you're going to have to bring pressure on Jalen Milroe. If you do, you will win because he does not do well with identifying where the blitz is coming from. The four times that you sent blitzes on passing downs, you got 2 sacks. You're going to have to do that with Graham Mertz. If there's one area that, guys, I'm talking about is absolute dookie cheeks. I'm talking about horrible. I'm talking about Bourbon Street sewer water. They have not been good at all at protecting the quarterback. He holds on to the ball too long, and they have not had the ability to be able to pass protect well enough as a unit for Mertz to always make great decisions. Everybody's like, oh, Graham Mertz is a dink and dunk quarterback. Yeah, you want to know why he's a dink and dunk quarterback? Because he's getting his ass kicked. And he's seeing ghosts out there. But just so happens he's 75% completion percentage while he's seeing ghosts. You have to. Like, you can't beat South Carolina. South Carolina has a worse defense. Believe it or not, there's a team in the SEC that has a worse defense than you. They're called South Carolina. And they sat back in coverage all the livelong day. And Graham Mertz's best game as a quarterback in his life had 420-plus passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Led Florida all the way back to a victory. You cannot just sit back passive on your hands and let him do whatever he wants. If you do that, guys, I promise you, I'm not going to say you're going to get beat, because I think Billy Napier could, Billy Napier could mess up a wet dream sometimes offensively, right? Like he can mess it up. And I think that him calling plays is going to be a reason why in Death Valley on Saturday night that you will have some success. If you are not sending pressure after Graham Mertz, they're going to put points and yards up on your ass. And they're going to want to throw the football a lot. Guys, we talk about ATN. We should. We talk about Montrell Johnson. We should. They are 2 really good running backs. Guys, they are one of the worst teams in the SEC in rushing yards a game. They are one of the worst teams in the country in yards per rush. They are 86th in the country in total rushing yards per game. Everybody thinks that Billy Napier wants to come in here and run the ball, and he does. It is. But when he hasn't had success, you've seen Graham Mertz. I'm pretty sure, I should have written this down. I think it's 3 games, maybe 4, where he has over 40 passing attempts. A lot of that has to do with him being Florida being down in the game. Yes, I will admit. But Billy will throw the football with a guy like Mertz. Please change something up. If you got to change up personnel, change personnel, for crying out loud. What is it going to hurt? I will tell you this. I can live with, personally, now I don't know how any of you feel, but you have 2 converted safeties playing boundary corner. I can live with them throwing the ball on Sage Ryan and Javian Toviano, who are safeties. I can live with it. What I cannot live with, and maybe this is because I played on the line of scrimmage my entire life, I cannot stand when teams are too passive. Put in Whit Weeks. Do something creative with him. Figure out a role that he can play. Deshaun Womack, if all he can do is rush the passer, I promise you he's better than Ovi Ogofu. I promise you. So is Braden Swinson. Brian Kelly talked about that we did this long, during the bye week, we did this long self-scouting. Where did you do that at? Where did you do that at? I hadn't seen it. At least not defensively. I think you did some things offensively that I thought were new wrinkles that I really liked. the deep dig route to Kyron Lacey because you wanted to play off of a freshman safety that would play aggressive there at the half. That's, I don't want to say it's new, but the formation that you ran it out of, that was new. That was 1,000% new. And you scored on it. And Jaden was lighting it up. Please, God, change something. Do something different. If you just, again, it's like, I want to be careful here. Do not take this the wrong way, but everybody knows the bully that used to be at school, right? And it seems like every offense that this LSU defense plays, they're the bully. And that bully is going to always come up and hit you in the face, mess with you, punk with you, just hit you and take your lunch money, whatever. The only way to make that bully stop from picking on you and bullying you and punching you is even if he whips your ass, you got to rear back and punch that son bitch right in the nose. Like Leonidas said on 300, even a God King can bleed. Like, come on, man. Like, come on. Like, again, I can live with your secondary who's gotten 4 safeties playing. I can live with Graham Mertz just eating you alive. I can live with it because I know that you're not going to be that bad next year. All right. Number 3, Jane Daniels. It was announced today from Brian Kelly that he is going to be probable for this game. Number 3. Everybody around Jaden, which they have been, and this, we usually just give one offensive thing a week, and it's probably going to be the same here. My first reaction is do all things possible to keep Jaden on his feet and healthy. And you're going to have to do that. How do you do that early and throughout the entire game? Quick passes, quick little screens, bubble screens, running the football effectively. Logan Diggs appears what it seems like with Brian Kelly, Logan Diggs might be a game time decision. That means that Josh Williams, Caleb Jackson, Noah Kane, John Emery, all of them, O-line, everybody's got to be better around Jaden Daniels. Now, I don't know how you get better than being the number 1 offense in the country, but you can be. You can be. And this man is putting everything on the line. Be better for him because you know what? He took that hit, wanted to come back in, wanted to lay it all on the line. Dude, Jaden literally just, I mean, I can't speak highly of that kid. Running the football, I don't know if the game plan early would change regardless if Jaden or Nuss were in the game. Let me explain why. Because you need to establish a very strong running game early. Because I would be cautious of running Jaden at all. The only time that Jaden needs to be running in this game is if he's flustered, needs to get out of the pocket, and either he needs to throw it away, take a couple of yards, get out of bounds, or get down. Don't let him hit you. Like at the end of the game, I hope that his jersey is as white, because they're going to wear the white jerseys. I hope his jersey ain't got no grass stains on them. But LSU's got a plan for Garrett Nussmeier, and I'm going to tell you what it is. They are going to simplify things, okay, early, and they would let him rip it. Now, the key in this game, the number 1 key, regardless of what quarterback plays, you're going to have to run the football at a high clip. Because one quarterback is coming off concussion protocol, you don't want him to get hurt again. The way that you limit a very big pass rush, which they're not good there either. Okay, they're like, I think in the hundreds and total sacks on the year. But the way that you limit that, run some draws, run some screens, have a very good attack on the ground, and I think you take this team to town. They're not good in the interior. They're not. Guys, I told you last week that this team in the interior can be pushed around. You remember last week when Logan Diggs and Josh Williams got some carries and they would push the pile? I told you that interior of that defensive line for Alabama was not good enough. They're still not. Josh Williams had a touchdown run. He ran right into the middle and was able to bust outside and get a touchdown. Used to against Alabama, if you try to run into the teeth of the defense, exactly what Georgia is doing is what would happen. Run the football in an effective clip. I think that I think you can make this a 2-score game because I think Billy is going to mess something up down the road that will prohibit him from. I think Billy thinks he's a good play caller, and he can call plays pretty well there, especially in the red zone. But we'll tell you why I think Billy is absolutely dookie water, all right, at times calling plays. And look, I feel good about this game and much better with JD5 playing. All right, number 4. Actually, I put 3 and 4 together because I said everybody around Jaden and running the ball. Yeah, so that's 3 and 4. Number 5. So just to clarify, number 3 was I don't know if the game plan changes. You need to run the football. And then number 4 was everybody around you, O-line, wide receivers, everybody's got to be better for him. But number 5, and the last thing, guys, Florida is horrible. Like a Dookie water, Dookie splash. They are so bad on third down offensively. Guys, they are converting 35% on third down. Billy is not good in that area. This team is not good in that area. Neither are you. Something's got to give. Either you're going to make them look really good or you're going to actually stand up for a change. Auburn was also bad on third down, but this offense is better than Auburn's by leaps and bounds. They got guys like Ricky Pearsall, the Wilson kid. They got the 2 backs. For whatever reason, Billy overcomplicates things on third down. Okay? He always does. I agree. And number 5, look, Brian Kelly said we got to keep them in third and long. Well, you kept Alabama in third and long, and it didn't work. This defense did have success on first and second down a lot of times last week. Please, God, just don't sit on your hands. They are not good, okay? You're going to – at some point, you got to get off the field. Like, if Florida walks their happy ass into Tiger Stadium and – is able to do something that they have not been able to do all year. Like, if they go 75% or better on third down, it's a fireable offense to me. I've just watched Billy call plays on third down. He is abysmal at it. Abysmal. If I'm not mistaken, they are the number 100 team in the country on third down, 35.8%. If you can't, it's a fireable offense to me, man. Like, if they come in here and convert 75% on third down, that just means that you're ass. And you had no idea what you're doing. Also, two biggest keys to me in this one. Mike Denbrock is going up against a very young defensive coordinator. Okay? I do think that this will happen, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think Denbrock's going to show some things maybe he didn't show, and maybe some things that you couldn't run against Alabama because their defense was good. I would not be surprised if you saw some new early wrinkles offensively. The old, wise, and experienced OC taking it to the young buck. And look, Denbrock's, I keep hearing his name come up. I had a call from Michigan State again today from people that cover that team. Like, hey, tell me about Mike Denbrock again. Well, you know what I tell him? He's ass. You can't have him. Gerard, dude, I'm going to start saving and bookmarking all of your comments. Who cares what he does against Florida? Who does against Florida? Says Matt House cannot save his job anymore, Blake. He's already fired. Oh, I didn't say he could save his job. Where did you come up with that? Ivan says number one key to success, freaking blitz. I agree. Well, that's not my number one. My number one's pride. Show that you want something. Stephen Young says yes. Pruitt can come back as a DC. He's got the year-long suspension. I mean, he could. I don't think him and Brian Kelly mesh well. Now, let me just say this. Let me say this. I want a DC that can recruit. Dave Aranda, Durante Jones, Bo Pelini, Matt House. I want somebody that can come in here and call some plays and can recruit. I want somebody that ain't scared. I want somebody, dude, let me tell y'all something. Okay? I'm not going to say the player, all right, or the recruit. About a month ago, I was talking to two recruits, and both are committed to LSU. And I said, listen, man, are other teams just not calling y'all? One of them said, yeah, that teams were. The other one said, no, not really. And I said, well, why? And both of them in their own way said, because they don't have a defense because Mike Denbrock's the OC. I was like, fair enough. Fair enough. And look, dude, Denbrock recruits his ass off. Denbrock knows that you got to have dudes.